different financial trends and goals, things that are affecting small business owners, and specifically like Generation Z, Gen X, and millennials. What are some of those challenges and hurdles that they're confronting in 2023? And one of the final ones is one we talk about often, and so that's going to be fun to kind of dip into that money topic. All right, guys, let's jump into our money topic here. The different Gen Z, Gen X, small business owners, millennials, etc., have all set financial goals in 2023. What are some of the obstacles and hurdles to actually achieving those goals? Well, let's go ahead and dive into this. So this is an article here from our good friends at Rocket Mortgage, owned by not the one and only Dan. It's not Dan Snyder. It's Dan.
No, Dan Snyder's
the Commanders. Don't want to confuse that. No, this is the guy that owns the Cleveland Cavaliers basketball team. Where Dan Gilbert, is that right?
Yeah,
Dan Gilbert. Right. Yeah, owner of Rocket Mortgage, amazing entrepreneur. And then he had that little thing where the so-called king, and he had that little negative tweet when LeBron left and went to Miami, and then he came back and they worked things out and whatever. But
didn't they just buy Truebill?
They did. Rocket Mortgage did buy Truebill. Absolutely.
Wow,
yes, they did.
Company. Wow.
Yeah, that was a big purchase, smart purchase on their part, and really it works seamlessly with mortgages and managing your money as a consumer. So interestingly enough, so here's some of the different goals that Gen Z in particular has in 2023. 45.1% of Gen Zers have a home ownership related goal for 2023. 42.6% of Gen Zers have spent more than they earned. That's a key. And 69.1% are currently saving money, which doesn't actually add up because, I guess it could. I guess you could save money and still spend more than you earn. Maybe that's possible. But the numbers don't quite add up there. And I think that's probably as good a place to start as any. It says in this article that Gen Z is saving money. And I'm just curious again, let's kind of break down, how do these generations work? Jillian, can you look that up right now? Tell us, if you're, Gen X, Gen Z, millennial, like what does that actually mean? What years were you born? We've talked about that. While she's looking that up, what are this is always the biggest obstacle. Like if you actually want to get ahead financially, and Ray Dalio says this all the time, what's the problem with our government, Ty? The U.S. government spends more than it takes in and earns. Like, it's not rocket science, people. You can't spend more than you earn and win the game of money ever, period, end of story. And so our government continues to spend, like we're doing $1 trillion every year, debts basically that are exceeding our income. So all the taxes, all the regulation that comes into the federal government is trillions of dollars, and yet we spend $1 trillion above and beyond what we actually take in as a country. So that's what we do as a government. But probably half of the population kind of has that problem too. And right now, Generation Z is struggling with that. And there's a lot of different factors. How do you unpack that? Like, where are the solutions?
Yeah, I am curious. Jillian, do you have that? What are those years?
So millennial is 1981 to 1996.
Hold on. So millennial is 1981 to 1996. Wow, damn, Ty, I was almost a millennial, but not quite.
And then Gen Z is 97 to 2012.
Oh, wow. So Gen Z cuts off at 2012. Yeah, so that...
Okay.
I mean, you look at these stats, and I would imagine a lot of these Gen Zers are still probably living at home, living with their parents, which it makes sense. They better be saving money. But, even some of our employees that are Gen Zs, and they come to me, Ty, how can I be better with my finances? And I look at their finances, and I look at their bills, and their actual bills are less than $1,000 a month because they're not paying for anything. They're living with their parents. Their bills are $1,000 a month. They're making $4,000 or $5,000 a month, and they're willing to save $20 a week. And so I wonder with these statistics, when it says a lot of these Gen Zers are saving, well, what are they actually saving? And I think the bigger picture here is a much lower percentage of those are saving for a home. They're not even looking, they're not even thinking about buying a home right now. So they're just saving for these small little vacations, Xboxes, the cool cars. And so when you're not really saving with this long-term bigger picture in mind, it's really, really hard to save and be consistent with it. But it is, I mean, if you would have asked me coming into this, Leo, what percentage of Gen Zers are saving money, I probably would have guessed like 20 to 25%. So that 60, what was it, 68, 69%?
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty impressed. Good job, Gen Z.
Yeah, no, it just, there was the one thing that didn't quite add up, because it's like, well, 42.6 spend more than they earn, yet supposedly 69% are saving money. So, and again, that could be possible. I could be saving money, but I'm actually spending more, maybe putting it on a credit card
I know
than I'm actually earning. So there we go. So, I mean, you can save money and actually still spend more. So ultimately, your net worth is actually going down because you're increasing your debt load, because that's the only way you can spend more than you earn, right?
It is funny. This person, it's like, I've got this nest egg, but my credit card debt is well surpassing my nest egg, so it doesn't really make any sense. But hey, if it makes you sleep better at night, keep that nest egg there. But yeah, it is kind of odd. 70% are saving money, but 42%. So we're our math isn't adding up. Rocket Mortgage, but that's okay. I'm shocked by that home ownership goal. What was it? 43? Only 43% or 45% of Gen Zers have a goal of owning a home.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, because if you don't have like a big purpose to save money, you probably won't save money, right? Like if you don't have written down, hey, I want to be a millionaire by the time I'm age 35, and I want to have real estate making me, passive income every month, or I want to have a little side hustle that makes me money. And if you're not specifically saving for the purpose, then you'll just have some money in there. And when a little opportunity comes along, oh, my buddies are going to Vegas, we got to go spend a few grand. Well, I'm going to pull from savings and do that because I don't have that goal. I don't have any big purpose. And I think that's huge. If you don't have the bigger purpose, then you'll eventually just not be disciplined.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of it too is I've heard some of our employees even mention this to me, is that the thought of buying a home right now is just, it's hopeless, right? The market's way too high, rates are too high, so there's no chance I'm even going to buy a home, so let's just have fun and spend my money. But if they understand the real estate market, it will always kind of slowly do this and trend upwards, but there will be an opportunity to buy, and you need to be positioning yourself today so that you can buy when that opportunity arises tomorrow, and it's not enough of them are doing that.
One of the cool stories I liked out of Grant Cardone was I don't think he invested in real estate until he was like 35, 36 years old. Wow. And he had saved up like almost $1 million in cash, maybe somewhere around in between 35, 37. And he looked at hundreds of apartment buildings, hundreds. And he didn't pull the trigger because he wanted to be sure. He wanted to be confident. And when he finally found, he had looked at so many that oh my word, he knew this one was way below market value. He picked it up, and I think he eventually sold it for like a multi-million-dollar profit. Wow. A few years later, bought in Southern California, I think San Diego area. And that's what it requires to succeed at the highest levels, is patience, and that is really difficult sometimes when you're in your 20s and you just don't have the patience. But boy, if you can have it, there's nothing better. And it's interesting. I was reading another story, another article. It was actually it was a post on Facebook by a guy named Josh Forty. Cool entrepreneur. He's done some stuff with Russell Brunson, and apparently he's really gotten into spirituality and Jesus the last year, which is cool. But he went to this mastermind, and there's this guy named Sam Ovens, and Sam Ovens started consulting.com and came from New Zealand. He's got this thick accent, and he's killed it. He's built like a $50 million net worth. And in this mastermind, this guy was saying, oh, I'm trying to grow my business, and I just can't. And Sam's like, how much cash do you have in the bank? And he's like, maybe 30 grand. And he's like, well, of course you can't grow the business. You can't you can't even breathe until you have $100,000 in the bank. And Josh looked at that and thought back a few years ago, and for him, the big number was 10,000. Boy, I can't even breathe until I have $10,000 in the bank. And I think if you're Gen Z or you're in your 20s, even wherever you're at, and you're trying to win, it is hard to breathe until you actually have $10,000 in the savings account, because you get a flat tire, you have a little health emergency, you have one little bump in the road, And all of a sudden your savings is gone, or you have to tap the credit card to make ends meet. And I've been there, and it's painful. And so there is this importance. So I guess really the question to ask is, well, how do you save that money? And so maybe we should unpack that for people.
Yeah, and part of it, and not everyone has the ability to live with their parents at 21, 22 years old. So this isn't for everyone out there. But for those of you that are still living in your parents' basement and you're 20, 21, 22 years old, this is not a time to go do whatever the hell you want to do and spend your money. This is a very unique opportunity not a lot of people have, where you can actually finally save some money. I would really, really buckle down and say, what are my monthly expenses? What do I actually have to spend money on? Maybe give yourself another 10% on top of that for spending money. Put everything else away, because you're not going to have this free ticket much longer, but it's a unique opportunity to save money, not a unique opportunity to go do whatever the hell you want.
So there it is. And step one, track the money, track the spending. Where is the money going? And if you don't have an app doing it like MyFigures or Truebill, you need to be tracking your money, and you need to have a budget, and you need to know, hey, here's how much I'm spending each month, and here's how much is available in disposable income that should be going towards savings. And if you even allocate, all right, I'm going to give myself X amount to go out to dinner, to go to a movie, to go to an event, and once that budget is spent, you don't tap in the savings. It's like that money doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And one of the secrets that some people do, and I've heard experts say, is, hey, you should have a separate, sacred savings account that maybe isn't even at the bank you're at. Maybe you just push that out every payday, and then you can't even see or touch that money. And I think that's a good rule, to have kind of a sacred account that you're building up towards something. Maybe it's to start a business. Maybe it's to buy a piece of real estate. Whatever it is, you're allocating that money. And so it starts with the budget. And then the second thing is, that money is not available. That's not money that I can spend.
Yeah. And on the other side of this, parents, if you have older adult children living in your basement right now, or still living at your house, or maybe you have a second home that they're living in, don't give it to them for free. I had a lot of friends whose parents, they charged them $800 to $1,000 a month and said, you have to pay this rent, but when you're ready to go out and buy your home, I'm going to give it all back to you. So as they're getting the rent, it's going into a separate holding account. So it's kind of forcing their children to actually have some accountability and actually save some money. I think that is a great way as a parent to really help this younger generation prepare for that home buying opportunity.
That's beautiful. I like that. That is really good. So then the next thing is, let's say you're a small business owner, or you're Gen Z, Gen X, whoever you are. Well, at the end of the day, you can and you should and you must budget. You should have a fintech app that helps you do it. You should write down goals and things that you want to accomplish. But once you've stretched the eagle in the quarter as much as he can be stretched, well, now there's only one way to win, and that's to actually earn more income. And so at your job, can you find opportunities to earn additional commissions? At your job, can you do something that you can build a project and get a share of some of the profits, because you're going to do all this work within the business? Or can you do a side hustle? Most people just think of, I'm going to go get a second job. Cool. If you want to go get a second job, that's another way to do it. But if you want to leverage and really increase your income, it generally becomes from some sort of business, some sort of opportunity where you can earn exponential income, bigger income than maybe even in your job. And once you can start doing, and usually that's required you to do it outside of regular hours, right? So, oh my gosh, you might have to work on the weekend. I know some of y'all think your weekends are sacred, but if you want to get ahead and win, you need to do some work on the evenings. You need to do some work on the weekends. And because of technology, you have that opportunity that maybe 20, 30 years ago wasn't so easy. And so if you don't take the step to earn more money, to grow, and that's the same thing if you already have a business. How can you earn more money in the business? How can you work on higher leverage activities that bring in bigger clients, bigger dollars, or exponentially grow through technology, or ability to build a team and hire somebody? If you can't do those things, then you'll never, because it's very small linear growth, right? Unless you can save to invest in a business or in something that's going to grow, then it's going to be very difficult to actually win the money game.